Hello there, Waltoneers. Hi there. I'm Jack, and this is DSNY Newscast, and we're going to be breaking down the quarterly earnings results for Q3 2024 for Disney. And to be honest, the headline news here is that it was a bit of a mixed quarter in terms of we can see the slowdown potentially happening in the next quarter. But at the moment, it seems like, it's solid enough for now compared to the rest of the market. There is areas where, a lot of the questions on the Q&A session with CEO Bob Iger and also the CFO Hugh Johnson, that there's definitely areas which is softening and there's some room for concern there. But as it currently stands right now, I'll just get the financial disclaimer off the screen as well, because just very important that I put that on the screen as well with any of this sort of stuff. But yeah, in terms of the actual Q3, it wasn't nearly as bad as what it could have been. And that's not me trying to add some sort of, rose-tinted glasses or sugarcoating it in any way. I honest to God think that a lot of the market will look at these results and think it could have been much worse, considering what we saw on Monday with the Nasdaq and S&P 500 and what people were kind of expecting. So it'd be very interesting to see what happens to the share price, the stocks in the next few hours. Obviously, trading has just begun, so we'll have to monitor that. I'll tweet out on Twitter, obviously, if it does take a huge dive or whatever based on these results. But at the moment, it seems like, they're holding steady, fairly robust. Let's get into some of this sort of stuff. First of all, I just want to say, if you haven't already, subscribe down below. It's right here. Turn on the notification bell, and also D23 week. We're in the stretch for D23 right now. It begins on Friday. I'm going to be covering it here extensively on the channel, as I always do with D23, but I won't be getting much sleep, to be honest. Won't be getting much sleep that weekend, this upcoming weekend, so you can watch me slowly get more and more tired as the week goes on, as the weekend goes on. But yeah, I'll be covering it all extensively here on the channel, be doing recaps on all the news, so you can expect me to be able to give you all the news like that. So be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell right here, and also, if you haven't already, become a member over on Patreon. The link's down below in the description box, but by doing that, you can actually become a member for free on Patreon. Just be a free member on Patreon, and that way I have your email address, so therefore I can then send out like a big, like a newsletter kind of to everybody whenever a video goes out. So I can email you when a new video goes out, instead of having to rely on YouTube push notifications, which aren't always reliable. That way you get the notification in your email as well that there's a new video. And obviously D23 weekend, these videos are going to be coming out at all kinds of crazy hours, weird hours compared to what I usually release videos at. So hopefully all that's good. Right, so just want to double check the audio is good. Let me just double check very quickly. Yep, there we go. And now I'm going to pull up the first set of graphics. Here we go. Yep, here we go. I'll get this one off the screen. There you go. So now we've got $23.1 billion for the total gross revenue of the entire company for the quarter of Q3 2024. It's a 4% year-over-year change from last year's Q3 2023. So that's positive there. Operating income has increased by 19% over last year's year-over-year change there to $4.2 billion. So almost 20% increase there is quite positive for the overall, health of the company from that sort of standpoint. It could have been much worse. Could have been, net zero kind of, gain at all. Flatlined, or it could have been negative, and the fact that it was just that is positive. Moving into the next one, experiences. The experiences segment is what we all used to know as the Disney Parks and Resorts segment. Now, experiences does include consumer products, any digital ventures that Disney do, like what we're going to see soon with a Fortnite integration and things like that. But experiences also includes cruise line. Now, $8.38 billion they made for this quarter, 2% increase over year. But what's interesting here is the operating income is $2.2 billion, and it's a minus 3% year-over-year change. Now, this is where there's some room for concern, because we're seeing a slight bit of softening in demand here based upon what we saw last year in Q3 for 2023 and the same exact year-over-year change. So with that being said, is this pattern going to continue as a trend into Q4? This is the thing I think a lot of the questions were asking, and they weren't really giving direct answers. If I'm being totally honest, the CEO Bob Iger and Hugh Johnston, the CFO, were trying to remain, sort of aloof on the topic, because obviously they don't know what Q4 is going to necessarily be. Obviously we're now in Q4, but they don't know certainly what's going to happen. But it seems like there is some sort of pullback or softening demand in terms of the parts segment. What is interesting about this is if there is a slowdown that's beginning to happen, whether it be because of the lightning lane changes and the nickel and diming and the all the extra fees that have come into the parks recently in recent years have started to catch up with what's showing on the earnings results. Universal Studios hasn't made any massive change to their Express Pass service in any way, but they have increased their ticket prices. And what is interesting about Universal Studios, obviously like-for-like competitor here in Orlando and just parks around the world as well, they saw a slowdown as well in not just attendance, but in their quarterly earnings results. They said they had a 10% decline in the Universal Parks and Resorts segment. So that's something that could be kind of a trend across the theme park industry as a whole. Obviously, we're here on DSNY Newscast. I'm DSNY Disney centered and focused here. But in terms of that, it's interesting to see if we're seeing Universal start to slow down, whether the slowdown is going to catch up with Disney in Q4. I want to get into the next one here. Entertainment. $10.5 billion in gross revenue. It's a 4% year-over-year increase. And operating income. Look at that operating income there. $1.2 billion in operating income. Operating income is net. Net is what you get from a profitability standpoint. So that's their take home. That's what they get to have after, obviously they have to pay tax and all the other stuff. But this is what they get basically after, the gross revenue is the money they make, but they have to pay out everything, budgets, marketing, everything for these movies. But then 1.2 billion they made in that quarter alone for Q3, which is very good. 194% over last year's. Now, if you remember last year, they had Elemental. I'm just trying to get this graphic off the screen. They had Elemental last year, but they also had, quite a rough time last year at the box office. Things weren't performing as they wanted it to perform. And also we have the actors' strike, we have the writers' strike, the directors went on strike for a very short period of time. But basically, there was, turmoil across the entire entertainment industry. And this year, I think the main thing that's driving this Q3 revenue here is obviously Inside Out 2. Inside Out 2 has blown past all expectations of what Inside Out 2 was going to make. It's at 1.5 billion so far right now in its total worldwide gross. To put that into context, the original one made around 850 million roughly. Don't quote me on that. It's roughly around that. So short of a billion. But this one's made 1.5 billion. And it's now the most, the highest animated box office for any animated movie ever. Now, obviously, there's a little bit of an asterisk next to that. A lot of people would like to say The Lion King in 2019 is the highest grossing animated movie of all time. But personally, the way I see this is that movie is definitely CGI and definitely animated, but it wasn't presented from an award standpoint, from a critical standpoint, as being an animated movie. So if it wasn't marketed in that way, you got to go off what they say the movie is, and this is the highest grossing animated movie of all time. It might be that Inside Out 2 might just surpass The Lion King in 2019, that movie, but we'll see. Obviously, if we took into account every animated movie and adjusted it for inflation, I don't know where the figures would stand. I know Snow White made a lot of money back in the 1930s and on all the re-releases since. And if you then take that and adjust it for inflation, it would probably be up there near the top. But yeah. Okay, move on to the next one. We've got a sports segment. This is always kind of boring, but the sports segment's been broken apart from the rest of it because it was kind of being a drag on the linear business or the entertainment business division here. So it's been broken apart. $4.5 billion in gross revenue, 5% year-over-year change, and the operating income is down by 6% year-over-year. And, it's less than $1 billion in operating income, $802 million there. So clearly this is an area which they need to improve. There's been lots of sports rights deals at the moment in play. Disney's been signing up for NBA deals and stuff like that. So Disney's continuing their partnership into the 2030s with a lot of these sports deals. Iger's very bullish on sports, thinking that it's consistent audience base and it's good opportunity for advertising and growth of Disney Plus. And speaking of Disney Plus, let's move into that. Disney Plus subscriber numbers, 153.8 million subscribers worldwide. Now, you can see the breakdown in the subscriber numbers here. So it was actually up quarter to quarter, 800,000. For US and Canada, the domestic market there, 54.8 million subscribers there. You've got then 63.5 million for the EU, the rest of the world, the UK, everything that has Disney Plus Star as its main, Disney Plus. It's down 100,000. It's kind of negligible there. 100,000 here, there is kind of negligible. And then you've got Disney Plus Hotstar, which is the Indian offering, 35.5 million subscribers, down 500,000. So, yeah, it might be that the cricket's rights deal, that will be continued to have an effect on Disney Plus Hotstar in India, at least. So that'll be interesting there. But overall, I think those Disney Plus numbers look actually fairly positive. It could have been much worse. The other thing to note here is that June 1st, 2024, just this past month, they had a Disney Plus password crackdown in terms of the password sharing. And so that came into effect on June 1st, 2024. People were notified about it in February. So with people being notified about it in February, and obviously the crackdown happening June 1st, it might be that we're starting to see the effects of that crackdown either improving the churn on these subscriber numbers or actually holding steady in a way. So very interesting there, because Netflix, when Netflix introduced their password crackdown on, password sharing, everyone was like, oh, that's Netflix done. Netflix is doomed. But in actual fact, Netflix increased their subscriber count by doing it. It was a bold move, but they increased their subscriber count. But it's a value proposition. Netflix is the main player in the streaming market, and a lot of people see it as, you've got to have Netflix, you've got to have that as a streaming service. Does Disney Plus have that same kind of ability in the minds of people to be like, we've got to keep Disney Plus? And Disney Plus and Hulu is a much more valuable proposition. And then they've also done a bundled package now with Disney Plus, Hulu, and HBO Max, or what we call Max now, as a streaming service, as a bundled offering, so you just pay once for all three services, and that will help improve churn as well. So be interesting to see what happens with Disney Plus. Iger was stated that the fact that like Inside Out 2 will obviously be coming to Disney Plus later on this year. I reckon personally it will come to Disney Plus around Thanksgiving, and then you've got Moana 2 and Mufasa eventually coming next year. The big blockbusters having a longer lead time before they come to Disney Plus is obviously improving Disney Plus's numbers, but also it's improving the theatrical business, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Disney Plus numbers in Q4, considering that crackdown there. Someone says here, DSNY Land says, I don't have Netflix, but I've got Disney Plus. That's an interesting one, because I thought most people would want Netflix, and then they would weigh up whether they want Max, Paramount Plus, or Disney Plus, as their extra service. But interesting you say that. I mean, obviously you're a Disney fan, otherwise you wouldn't be on this Disney live stream. So it kind of makes sense that you are a Disney Plus subscriber. I want to look at some of these comments now, and then I want to get into some more news as well. Just looking off to the side on my screen here. Speaking of Snow White, any word on the 2025 film? Aren't we getting a trailer soon? Yeah, Jacob, I would expect that there'll be a trailer shown at D23 this Friday to the audience in attendance there, and then they'll most likely release that trailer with the rest of the trailers that they'll drop on Friday as well, which might be a good way of doing it, because by dropping the Snow, obviously Snow White's been entangled with a lot of kind of a culture war kind of thing, because Rachel Zegler made some, I think, pretty ill thought out statements about Disney in general, and it just wasn't good from a marketing standpoint or a public relations standpoint. And then obviously we saw some leaked photos, and it kind of became this huge thing. But I think them dropping the trailer for Snow White along with a bunch of trailers will help. Because it's being dispersed with all these trailers, it will take some of the heat off the Snow White trailer rather than just dropping it on one day. So I reckon we will get that on Friday or Saturday morning, whenever they want to release it. Okay, I'm trying to go back through here and look at some points here. Someone says here, regarding Universal, good point. I think Universal is dealing with the I'm waiting for Epic universe challenge. That's a very good point there, Christopher, actually. Yeah, people are obviously... if they were going to go to Universal any year, they're going to be waiting to 2025 when Epic Universe opens. Supposedly summer 2025. At least that's what they said on their live stream recently. So we'll see about that. But people are obviously holding off to waiting until Epic Universe is opened to come back to Orlando and visit Universal. So... and maybe that's also having a drag on Disney's attendance. Because Disney's going to... there's a rising tide lifts all ships kind of analogy to this whole thing, this metaphor. And, a lot of people are saying Disney's done for when Epic Universe opens. And it's not true, because when Islands of Adventure opened in, I think it was 99, Disney saw an increase off that as well. And when Animal Kingdom opened in 98, Universal saw an increase. So, more people coming to Orlando in general is just good for the theme park market, and people tend to not be as tribal as we are necessarily. I've been a Universal annual pass holder in the past. I'm not anymore because obviously my son's only a year old and we can't really do much in the Universal parks with him. So we gave up our annual pass last year. But we were annual pass holders to Universal for quite a few years. I really did enjoy going to Universal. I really do enjoy the Harry Potter area. I enjoyed Velocicoaster. I much prefer Universal's Halloween Horror Nights over Mickey's Not So Scary, if I'm being honest. I probably will enjoy Mickey's Not So Scary more now that I've got Max, our little 1-year-old. But with that being said, I do think that next year we will see an attendance slight bump for Disney as well. I don't think it will be taking it completely away from Disney. I think 2026, 2027 is where Disney might start to struggle. But 2025 might not be as bad as people... A bit like these earnings. Everyone's saying that these earnings were going to be really bad for Disney. As we currently stand, let me have a look at the stock performance here. Give me a second. I'll just pull this up. Yeah, here we go. So Disney stock, this was, obviously before trading has begun. But over the last 3 months, which is the quarter, we've seen a significant decline there from 106 down to where we are right now, $89, sorry. And then with the $89 earnings, the thing is about this is, I'll also put on the screen the NASDAQ, because that's important as well, and the S&P 500. Now we saw a real drop in the NASDAQ, which is the technology-focused, collection of stocks there. When we saw Nvidia and Meta and Amazon and all of the tech stocks, Apple, all shed around between 5 to 7% of stocks of the shares there, the percentage. And the fact is, with them shedding so much, it dragged down the rest of the market, because there is what they know as the Magnificent Seven in terms of these stocks, and it's like Apple and Amazon and Meta and stuff like that. And if they drop, then it pulls down the whole market. But where I think is an interesting point is that Disney has already kind of baked in its fall over the last 3 months, and certainly year over year, it's down as well. And I just think it's an interesting point that, like, are Disney now reaching with Wall Street a point where a resistance line? Because Wall Street are like, Disney's at least worth $89. We can't pull it down any further. There's no other, this earnings report hasn't been particularly bad. It's not glowingly positive, but it's held its own. And, is there much of a reason to do a big sell-off of Disney? There's no kind of bad news coming out at the moment in terms of the earnings to like indicate, do a sell-off of Disney. They've already pulled back an awful lot. And so I feel like Wall Street in general, the mentality of Disney will be like, they've already pulled back an awful lot. This is their resistance line. If they lose this resistance line, it'll be interesting if they go down further. But at the moment, obviously I'm no trader, no stocks trader or anything like that, but I'm just trying to make some points here about it. And then we've also got, what else have we got here? So yeah, we showed you the NASDAQ. But it's interesting from that perspective that Disney's hovering around $89. So over the last 10 years, Disney was around $89. And then it went all the way up. It spiked all the way up during COVID and the big, streaming, push in 2021. And a lot of that, in a way, it went right up to like $150, $160. I think it actually went closer to $200 actually at one point. But it went so high, artificially high, I would say. And then it took a big drop off the other side. And I think that's what we're seeing an awful lot at the moment with these tech stocks, is that there was a lot of this money flowing around and artificial highs, the kind of AI bubble in a way. And now we're starting to see it drop off the other side. So with Disney, obviously, they've already kind of suffered that with their streaming thing. They had a tough year last year with the actors and writers strike. And so a lot of people are, I'll show him that, yeah. You were asking about the two graphs. Well, it looks like those two graphs are almost identical. Yeah, that's the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. They're the two ones that dropped the most on Monday. Now, there's a lot of talk at the moment about recession. Recession in the air, a lot of people are talking about it. And recession's a weird one because, like, the more you talk about it, the more it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But, there's been talk about recession for many, many years. Every year there's analysts coming out saying, this is the year we're going to have a recession. And if you continually say the same thing, eventually you'll be right. A broken clock is right, every once in a while. So when it comes to this kind of thing, if you keep saying the same thing, you'll eventually be right. And yes, definitely there's negativity in the markets at the moment. But the drop in terms of Monday, what people were referring to Black Monday, they were trying to build up as that. It was around a 7% decrease, I think it was, what I read online, across the entire market, approximately. And then yesterday, I believe it was around 2% or 2 or 3%. So like, it's definitely seen a decrease in the stock market, but it's not the big drop that everyone was expecting. So I think that's also going to help Disney depending on the next few hours with their earnings and how the Wall Street and the stock market react to it. Also want to make some other points about Disney Plus. Disney Plus is going to be seeing a price increase come October 17th. And the one that's increasing the most there, you can see it's going up by $2. The Disney Plus Basic with ads is going up from $7.99 a month to $9.99 a month. And Disney Plus without ads, the premium Disney Plus, is going up from $13.99 to $15.99. Now, this is still less than what Netflix is charging. Let me put the Netflix prices on the screen as well so you can kind of see Netflix over the last 10, 12 years. That's a very huge increase over a few years. And I think their premium one's now at $23. Yeah, their premium's at $23. Their basic, no HD, obviously one screen, is $15.49, and their with ads tier is at $12. So Disney's ads tier starts at $10, and Netflix's starts at $12. So even with that, Disney's a better value proposition from that standpoint, because you get all Disney Plus. But I think personally, Disney Plus is best when you couple it with Hulu or Star. in terms of the offering, because it makes it a much more well-rounded service. You get a whole bunch of TV shows and different dramas and horror movies and all sorts of stuff that you wouldn't usually get on Disney Plus. And then that would obviously mean that, let me put it back on the screen there, that would make it comparable to $15.99. So yeah, I would say it's pretty close to there. I reckon Netflix will do another increase later on this year. And we'll see where they go then, and if there'll be a bit of a pushback and more churn in the subscriber numbers. Right, I think we're exactly 25 minutes in. So hi there to everybody who's joining just now, or have joined in the last 25 minutes. We're discussing the Q3 2024 earnings. This is kind of the beginnings of a D23 coverage. I know it's not the most it's not the most exciting. Obviously, this weekend we're going to get a lot of news, and I'm going to be here to cover it all for all of you. I'm probably, I'll be working very hard throughout the next few days. I'll be working throughout the night. I know that let me give you a little bit of a breakdown of when these things happen. So, the D23 Experiences Showcase begins at 7 p.m. Californian time, or 10 p.m. on the East Coast of America. Florida, for everyone who's watching right now in America. And if you're in the UK or Europe, it begins at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. in the morning. So 3 a.m. for the UK fans, fellow Brits out there like myself, or for European, the EU, it'll be beginning at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning. So that's Sunday morning. That would be for them. So Saturday's the big day for the Disney Parks news. Now, got to get into the thing that everyone's talking about, buzzing about online at the moment. I tweeted out yesterday that I'd heard from some viewers who are cast members who watch the channel. They messaged me and said that basically Disney had told them that there's going to be a cast exclusive live stream of the Disney Experiences Showcase on the Saturday night. Now, when I heard this news, I was like, a bit surprised, because D23 in 2021, at least Destination D in 2021, D23 Expo in 2022, and Destination D in 2023 last September, they were all live streamed on YouTube, and there was a live chat by the side of it. And this year, they're not going to be live streaming it to the public, it seems. I mean, in January, the Disney brand officer called Asad Ayaz did do an article with either Deadline or Variety, I can't remember which publication, but they did an interview, and he stated that parts of Disney D23 will be available on Disney Plus. Now, the parts will be streamed on Disney Plus. Doesn't mean necessarily the live, it's going to be a live feed or anything like that. Streamed in this sense could be that anything that's put onto Disney Plus could be a stream. It wasn't said it was going to be live streamed. So I was very cautious about this wording. And I think I was right to hasten that caution there, because it doesn't seem like there's going to be a public live stream of D23. So cast members will, if you have a cast member friend who lives locally to you, maybe in Orlando or Disneyland or wherever, it might be worth messaging them and saying, hey, can I come over and watch the live stream? I don't know. But I would say to any cast members out there who are going to watch it live, don't bother trying to restream it or anything like that. It's just not worth it in terms of your job. Because if Disney's putting out a cast exclusive live stream, there's a reason for that, and they obviously aren't going to put it out as a public live stream. So it's your own decision making here, but I would say don't restream it. I know that Disney Parks blog are going to be live blogging alongside. I'm obviously going to be tweeting out. I'm going to be covering it all, and then immediately afterwards, in a few hours afterwards, I'm going to be getting a video out to all of you. So my videos aren't just reading Disney Parks blog. They're not just here. I'm going to show you in the past show you a clip of a live stream and talk about it. I like to go into more depth of what we've got announced. So I like to break it down from a point of view of, where is this expansion going to be? What's the size of it going to be? Here's the satellite imagery. Here's what I've also heard. Here, because when these announcements get made, I hear from a whole bunch of people. It's coming in and out DMs and stuff like that, and I get a whole bunch more context. And I like to provide that afterwards. So if you haven't planned already, subscribe down below, hit the notification bell, and go over to Patreon and become a member over there just for free. Just become a free member over there, and I'll be able to send out an email to you when videos go live this weekend. Obviously, the panel that we all care about most is this one, the Horizons Disney Experiences Showcase. It's going to be very interesting to see what gets announced. It's being touted as a musical celebration. I think they're saying that because they've got a 12,000 seat arena at the Honda Center, and they're trying to make it into more glitz and glam, more razzle dazzle to the whole thing. But I'm really hoping there's a ton of news coming out of this. Everything going into this, the rumor mill has been swirling, like more so than 2022. 2022, I did my predictions video, and there wasn't much chatter at all. The writing was on the wall pretty early on with that. But this year, there's been a whole bunch of chatter. So, from what I've heard, Josh D'Amaro was in Walt Disney World recently in the last week or so, and maybe, I shouldn't say maybe, he was in Walt Disney World this past week or so, meeting with Imagineering from what I heard, and going over various plans, various projects. When I say last week, I mean like a week or two ago. Going over various project plans, and that will probably be the last point where they make their decision over what's going to be announced, or what's being greenlit. They sometimes do pull things last minute. At least Bob Chapek did. He pulled announcements last minute and pushed them off further into the future. So we'll see what happens this year, but it's going to be interesting. I'm going to be able to deliver the news to all of you. I'm also certain that there's 12,000 people in this arena. Depending on what their filming policy is going to be for the parks. Obviously, the Friday night for the entertainment panel, they show clips from movies and stuff like that, and they're strictly prohibited in terms of filming, photos, anything. They clamp down on that very quickly. Anyone gets a camera out, put it away, that kind of thing, because it's these aren't going to be shown to the public yet. They might be early test runs of movies and stuff like that. But in terms of the parks experiences segment, whatever gets announced. So I don't know what their policy is going to be in terms of making people put their phones away or not film certain things, but I'm sure there'll be some people there who will attempt to live stream either on YouTube or on TikTok or on Instagram Live. So I would just say search around on Saturday night to try and find some sort of bootleg stream from inside the arena to hear the announcements if you do want to. That's how I had to do it in so D23 in 2019 they didn't do any live stream. 2017 they didn't do any live stream, and I had to do the same thing then, where you find some sort of shaky camera footage of a live stream of what's being announced, and I'm there making notes of what I can just faintly hear through the muffled speakers and stuff like that. So do try and find a stream if you do want to. You'll probably find some sort of streaming within the arena. But someone says, why are they not live streaming the Disney Parks panel? That's a good question there, Haven. I've got my own theory on this. I know some people have said, it's probably because of the music's going to be put into it and stuff like that. But I personally feel that the reason why they're doing this is it's a narrative issue. They're trying to control the messaging, control the narrative. The last few D23s, they've had the live stream and they've had the live chat alongside it. And by doing that, having the live chat alongside it, people are being negative about things before the announcement even gets made. Or when the announcement does get made, they immediately get negative about things. Because, there's some people where it might be their favourite ride that's just been announced to be replaced, or they just aren't happy with the state of Disney at the moment or whatever. But I don't think Disney wants that real time kind of immediate reaction alongside their live stream. They could have always turned off the live chat. That's another way of doing it. But even then, on Twitter, it's people are reacting to what they're hearing instead of reading the announcement and actually hearing what's being said, actually looking into it properly. And I think Disney wants to control the messaging tighter. They want to go back to D23 in 2019 and control the messaging in a better way. That's my theory on what they're doing here. From just a branding, marketing perspective, that's what I think they're trying to do. They're trying to rein it in a bit more and be a bit tighter with what they're doing. Whether it will work, who knows? It's a big gamble. I know there's a lot of people at home who are very annoyed about there's no live stream. But also, the tickets for this experience's presentation were a lot of money, and it might be a way for them to be like, we're adding value to the ticket. Because if you don't get the ticket, you don't get to see it live. So that might be another thing that they're thinking here. But I think a lot of people are annoyed. I think personally there should be a D23 members live stream at the very least. Because not all D23 members were able to get tickets to go to the arena. Or can't make it because they live internationally and they just couldn't make it. And so I think there should be a live stream provided to them alongside the cast member exclusive live stream. But then if they're trying to create that kind of demand or scarcity of demand for the actual tickets, then don't have a public facing live stream. Only allow it for D23 members. But the fact that we haven't even heard of a live stream being notified. Sorry, there's a super chat. Someone said here a super chat came in. Hi there. I just want to make that point very quickly. The fact there's no mention of a D23 live stream, I think is a bit. I think they should have done it, and it's a bit annoying from that sort of standpoint that Disney haven't announced it. I think it's a bit out of line, to be honest. There should be a D23 live stream for those members who couldn't get the tickets, because it was very difficult to get the tickets. They all went in like 10 seconds. So I think they should actually have a live stream for D23 members. I'm not actually a D23 member, but yeah. Anyway, here we go. Chris says, super chat. Oh, thank you for that. 999 there from Chris says, good morning from Orlando. Hello. Yes, I'm from the other side of Orlando, somewhere over there. With the slowdown in attendance and the panel not being live streamed to the general public, should we temper our expectations for the panel? Love the channel, by the way. Oh, thank you, Chris. Right, yeah, that's a very good question there. So I know a lot of people were saying, the slowdown also on Monday with the earnings and stuff like that, with the stock market, the Big Mac index of McDonald's earnings results showing a slowdown in consumer demand and stuff like that. I think that a lot of people thought maybe the Disney Parks presentation will be pulled back in a way. But here's the important thing. Disney know that Epic Universe is on the horizon. They have zero, zilch, nothing on the horizon past Test Track 3.0 and the Encanto and Indiana Jones thing. They know they need stuff in development now because it's a 3-4 year build time for these things. And so Iger does know, if it was Chapek in charge, I would say Chapek would be more short-sighted towards immediate knee-jerk reactions within the macroeconomic factors. But I think Iger knows that he's leaving in 2026. He wants to set things in motion and let them, take form. And then it's over to the CEO who takes over from him next. Now, here's the other thing. We don't have any news so far on the successor planning. Sorry, talking for 38 minutes non-stop. You do get a dry throat. But yeah, no, with the succession planning, we haven't heard anything more on this topic. And I think we need to really hear something very soon because there needs to be kind of an on-the-job kind of training model that just wasn't there with Bob Chapek, and it's about picking the right person, getting that person familiar with the fan base, with the fans who want to see certain things and communicate with that CEO about what they want in terms of the parks, the movies, all that sort of stuff. I personally think it's either going to be Kevin Mayer, who is an outside person who used to work at Disney up until 2020, long-time Disney, member from the 1990s. Anyways, Bob Iger's right-hand man in a lot of these acquisition deals. He's now over at Candle Media. I think he could be the next CEO if they want to pick an outside person who has more experience with deals and mergers and acquisitions. Alternatively, I think it could also be Dana Walden, who is the person in charge of the entertainment division. The reason why I'm not saying Josh D'Amaro in this is because I don't think Josh D'Amaro has the entertainment chops at the moment to, they picked Bob Chapek in 2020 and he didn't have any real like entertainment relationships. And it really, at the end of the day, Disney's business begins with entertainment. And then if they have a blockbuster, it's like that org chart that Walt Disney made back in the day, where like if you get a big success in movies, it then feeds out into consumer products, into licensing, into TV, into parks, into everything. And that's the way that we should be looking at it. And so they need to prioritize the entertainment relationships and getting A-class content and big blockbuster hits in terms of the movies. Because then that has a ripple effect throughout the parks. Whether you want IP on the parks or not, it still has an effect on if they are doing well at the box office. That's the most accessible brand touch point for a lot of people around the world. A lot of people don't live within, half an hour of Walt Disney World or something like that. So when it comes to the most accessible brand touch point, it is going to the cinema, it is going to the movie theatre and seeing these Disney movies. And so they've got to have these Disney movies that are successful, popular, and people have that resonance and that connection with the Disney brand. And then that will have an effect throughout the rest of the company. And so I do think Dana Walden is probably the best positioned internally to take over because she has those relationships and she can learn the parks business. But most importantly, the parks business is its own kind of, you could spin off the parks and resorts business as its own business on the stock exchange and it could do quite well by itself. Disney Parks and Resorts has kept the Disney Company afloat for the past few years, but in many years before then, it was the entertainment business that was the biggest revenue generator, and the parks and resorts business wasn't. It's flipped a little bit upside down recently, but the movie business is what Disney's bread and butter is, and the parks business is obviously its own separate thing. I obviously care very much about the Disney parks, but you've got to look at it from the standpoint of what most people have that connection with Disney, and a lot of people have either never been to a Disney park or they would like to one day, and watching a Disney movie is their most accessible way of connecting with the Disney brand. So there's another super chat here. Hi there, Disney guy. Says a slap in the face to D23 Gold members for no live stream. I 100% agree with you there. I do think it's a real, like you say, slap in the face. I said before that I think they've really done a disservice to the D23 members with this. And, I think that they should have a D23 live stream. It could be watermarked. It could be, whatever they need to do if they don't want it to be public. I don't think they're not allowing a public live stream because they're not going to announce things and they're worried about the booing because, to be honest, the optics of that, people are going to film anyway. If there's boos in that arena, everyone's got a phone in their pocket. Everyone's got a video camera in their pocket now. And if there's booing on, of Josh D'Amaro on stage and there's 12,000 people in attendance, there's going to be clips of that all over the TikTok, all over Twitter, all over Instagram. And I'm telling you right now, if that does happen and they don't announce anything and it is just a big song and dance, then that will make it to the mainstream media to cover it. So I don't think that they're going to do it. But I also have heard an awful lot in terms of a rumour mill leading up to this. So they do have things to announce. I just hope they do balance it correctly. I don't want too much fluff. I don't want Josh D'Amaro fluffing up, talking about cupcakes for 10 minutes or anything like that. I want solid news announcements. But there's going to be a musical component to it. So there's going to be, in between each segment, there's probably going to be a bit of a song and dance. And then there's going to be more news. Then there's a bit of song and dance. So, I don't know what their structure is this time. It's only going to be 90 minutes, supposedly. But the one in 2022, that was only meant to be 90 minutes and it ran to almost 2 hours. So, that's just kind of like a blocking out of a calendar, just saying it's going to be roughly 90 minutes. It could easily go 2 hours. Depending on what they've got to announce. So it's interesting from that standpoint. Let me get back down to a lot of these comments here. Okay, seeing a lot of comments. Let me just have a look. Trying to catch up because I was focused on those super chats a minute ago. Slimer says here, Star Wars Celebration was live streamed on YouTube, but inexplicably D23 will not be. But we should get excited for the announcements when we can't watch them. Yeah, it's hard. They've set a precedent over the last few years of D23 being live streamed, and 2021, 2022, 2023, people were expecting a live stream this year. And if their plan all along was to never do a guest-facing live stream, then they should have announced that months ago when the tickets went on sale for D23. They should have said months ago, there's going to be no public live stream. The only way to experience D23 this year is in person. Now, I know that would have given more demand, more scarcity of the tickets, and I know they sold out in like 10 seconds, but at least people would know where they stand, and the disappointment would have come months ago instead of 3 days before the event. I didn't like having to be the person who I was notified about this yesterday morning, and then obviously I tweeted out later on in the day, and I was waiting because I was notified about it early in the morning. I was waiting to see if anyone else was going to be notified about it. I was notified about it, then I tweeted out, and then the tweet blew up in a big way, and people were very disappointed. I don't like to be the bearer of bad news. I like to bring good news. And the fact is, this was some bad news in terms of not being able to see it live. Now, the only way they can redeem themselves is, obviously they'll be live blogging it, and the announcements that they make at the event will be so, big that everyone will forget that it's not even being live streamed. That's what I'm hoping. Obviously, you've probably all seen my predictions video by now, but if you haven't already, go watch it. I've made my predictions. I think, Beyond Big Thunder is going to be talked about in a big way. Future of Big Thunder Mountain, beyond there, up through Frontierland, that's going to be all spoken about. Moana in Magic Kingdom is supposedly on the docket for things to be announced this year. Obviously, Tropical America's Encanto and Indiana Jones over at Animal Kingdom. They might go as far as to talk about an expansion over at Hollywood Studios. I think it could be possible that Bluey gets announced as a licensing deal to come to Disney Junior Live space in the Animation Courtyard area. I think the Lion King land over at Disneyland Paris and the Lion King ride that's rumored for Animal Kingdom, that should be spoken about. We'll see if they go as far as that. Disneyland, in terms of that, it's interesting because the news, obviously we've got Saturday is going to be the experiences panel, but then on Thursday, in actual fact, friend of the channel, Drew the Disney Dude, he's going to be part of the press preview tour of the Expo show floor. So they've got I'll show you very quickly here, actually. Yeah, here we go. So you can see here, if you look in the kind of the centre there, it says Imagineering. Just above, you got the car show, and then over one, you've got Imagineering. That is going to be the Imagineering Pavilion right next to Mickey's of Glendale's. Now, this is a huge show floor this year, much bigger than previous D23s. And the fact that they've got such a large Imagineering presence there, this is where we will get maquettes and models of upcoming projects. Now, they haven't really got very many upcoming projects at the moment. So what will be featured there? Tropical Americas. We saw that they were doing a paper model. They released that on TikTok, a paper model for the Tropical Americas at Animal Kingdom a few months ago. So maybe we will get the model for Tropical Americas in the Imagineering Pavilion on that Thursday night, tomorrow night. It's tomorrow night Californian time. It'll be very late, probably East Coast time, and for European viewers it's going to be Friday morning, but I'm going to be covering all of that. And the Avatar land that's coming to Disneyland, that's also been announced. We could get a model for that. It's going to be interesting to see how much we get announced in terms of before we even get the experiences showcase presentation, because they might, and there's also apparently going to be some sort of talk by Ken Potrock, the Disneyland president, over in Avengers Campus. Could they talk about the Avengers e-ticket then? All of this, if they do things like this, it reduces the amount of time on stage that they need to go over these things again to the D23 audience in attendance, which means that those 90 minutes that they've got could be used more for new announcements rather than updates on existing projects. Be interesting to see where they go, but I think that's a point to be made there. I'm going to try and keep this live stream to around an hour long, because I know it's early morning for everybody, and if you're at work or whatever listening to this in the background, I don't want to go on for too long. So send in your questions. Any questions ahead of D23? Oh god, there's loads of questions I didn't look at. Yes, there's Drew the Disney Dude. So yeah, on Twitter, go follow him. It's Drew Disney Dude over on Twitter. Drew will probably put his link there in the live stream so I can put it on screen. I'll do that for you in a second. But yeah, so with this whole thing, I think we're heading into D23 week. Cautious optimism. I think this is going to be much. I think the growing consensus is that this is going to be bigger than obviously 2022. There's not really going to be much talk of blue sky. Anything that they announce, they're gonna build. So that's where we stand with this sort of stuff. I know there's going to be a lot. I think Disney is also aware of the amount of negativity and skepticism that they've created the past few years talking about blue sky. That might be also the reason why they're not live streaming it. It's because they know a lot of people are just skeptical of Disney now building these projects, and they're just like, well, let's not live stream it, let's just announce it and begin work on it instead of trying to give them this great big song and dance about, oh, what are we dreaming? That kind of stuff. The blue sky brainstorm session that we saw on stage, it got silly. I was sat here in 22, this exact same spot, and I was watching the live stream, and we got to a point, and the 90-minute mark where it should wrap up, and I was shouting through. My wife was in the other room watching it on the TV, because it was on YouTube, obviously, and I said to her, they've announced nothing. What have they announced? And then they brought Chris Beatty and Jennifer Lee on stage, and they did that kind of blue sky brainstorm thing. I was like, wait, what's this? And then it turned out there was no announcement. It was just them saying, this is what we could do. This is what we could do. Would you like it? And there wasn't any announcement. And so it left me, I had to go, and create a video immediately after that. And I was just like, what did they just do? What the hell was that? So we'll see. Let me see what Drew put your, there you go. Drew the Disney Dude over on Twitter for live D23 updates. So go check him out over there if you haven't already. Friend of the channel. But yeah, we'll be getting a lot of news over the next few days. Stay tuned to the channel. If you haven't already, go subscribe. Go hit that notification bell just here. Obviously, if you click on the screen, it's just going to pause the video. So, do it below the video. But subscribe, turn on notifications for D23 coverage. I'll be covering it in depth. This is my fourth D23, fourth time around on the rodeo. So, it should be good. I'm all prepared for it. I'm ready to go. I'm feeling healthy. Often throughout these D23 weekends in the past, I remember the first one I did in 2017, I was up late throughout the night so much that the 2 days after D23 ended, I actually came down with like a bit of a head cold, because I'd kind of throw my sleep cycle off over the course of 5 days of doing it, and my immunity dropped and I had a bit of a cold. So I'm going into this healthy. So hopefully, there's going to be every night I'm going to be working throughout the night. If you appreciate the coverage, go join Patreon, become a member. If whatever you can, if you can join and help support the channel, very appreciated. But obviously, just become a member for free if you want, and you'll just get a notification when the videos go out this D23 weekend. I'll send out a video notification so you can make sure if YouTube notifications aren't working, you'll definitely get an email in your inbox that there's a new Disney D23 DSNY video out. So go do that as well. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this D23. Fingers crossed that we get some good stuff announced. And yeah, that's any other questions last minute, and then I'll just go this way. Give me a second. Let me get my little graphic off the screen there. We are all focused on D23 when the half the chat are influencers and YouTubers. Yes, hi there, WDW Central. Everyone's talking about D23. We're heading into it, and should be good. Okay, I'm gonna call it a day now, and I'll see you all. When I say usually see you real soon, I usually mean like in the next week or so. I'm going to be seeing you tomorrow and Friday and Saturday and Sunday. So you'll be seeing a lot of me. Get used to this face over the next few days, and watch me gradually get more and more tired as the days go on. But with that being said, everybody, thank you for joining for the breakdown of the Q3 earnings. And for the time being, I've been Jack. Oh wait, sorry, I don't want to cut off this person. They've just sent a super chat. One last second. I always like to mention the super chats if they do send something. Do you know if Disney Company builders 1 or 2 more ships like Disney Adventure ship can come to Europe and UK and USA? Yeah, I am actually expecting, David, there more Disney Cruise Line announcements, more Disney ships to be built. We're looking at more of an expansion on the west coast of America, which if they add more to the fleet to serve the west coast market, that will mean that more like the Disney Magic and the Disney Wonder will be able to serve more voyages and more itineraries in the European Scandinavian market for the the European river cruisers, the Scandinavian cruisers and stuff like that. So interesting from that. Thank you for the super chat there. But yes, we should be getting some Disney Cruise Line news as well. But anyway, with that being said for today, I've been Jack, you've been you, and I'll see you real soon.